Hello, everyone. Welcome to Kardec Radio once again for our weekly program, Spiritism, a closer look. Today is March 23rd, 2022. Unfortunately, we are on the fourth week of the war between Russia and Ukraine. That's what we're going to be discussing today. So, what is the question, right? The question is why is that we have to face and deal with so many problems, so much trouble, and so many hard times like this? That's the question for tonight. I'm Luiz Lima, your host, and tonight we are taking a closer look at the challenging times that we are going through, all of us, regardless of where we are on this planet. So we a couple of years ago we had this pandemic taking place and shaping our lives in a completely different way, shaping the planet and societies differently than they were before, to a point where we said, well, we're finally coming out of this thing. So the pandemic is more under control, and so everything is going to be okay. We hardly ever get out of pandemic, and now we have this war going on in the Eastern European and Asia. Ah, yeah, I know. Nobody likes this. So we wanted to bring this subject to the table here for us to take a closer look at. Let me just tell you this is not whatsoever and at all about politics. It's not about who is right and who is wrong. It's not about finding, not being pro or against something, is not pro or against someone. It's not it. Spiritism is neutral. Spiritism is we can understand Spiritism as a guide for morality. It's a guide. It doesn't impose anything on anyone. It doesn't prevent anyone from doing anything. It does not take sides. It does not adjust itself in favor of one person or another. That's not what Spiritism is. It's a guide. It's a lookup model for moral values. That's all it is. So no politics in the sense that we know from the news and regular life, no right or wrong. To begin with, if you're going to define if something or somebody is right or wrong, you need a reference. So you need to look up uh, which law defines what's right and wrong, and that law might be different in one part of the planet and another. So what might be wrong in uh, 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 one society might be completely right for another. So this is not what we are going to look at today. We are going to analyze the current events from the morality point of view, from the spiritist point of view. So, like I said, today is March 23rd, 2022, fourth week of the war. Unfortunately, we have come to a point that reminds us of World War One and World War Two. And I don't think anybody knows exactly what's going to happen, and that puts some sort of, which is normal, of course, some sort of anxiety and at times even stress on us, any of us, any of the almost 8 billion incarnates here. So we sure have been facing some challenging times, delicate times throughout history. It's not, and because we have had several past lives, we have seen hard times before. We have seen, difficulties before. It's not something new, but we don't want this anymore. So what we're going to be discussing today is a reflection about the ongoing war between Russia and Ukraine. And again, please, 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 no politics, not taking sides of any kind so whatsoever. Spiritism is neutral. So directly or not, we are all of us, no exception, experiencing this event in a certain form. Some people might just hear the news and be, let's say, indifferent because it doesn't really mean anything to them, depending on where they are, who they are. For some people, it's really something threatening and brings images of horror and fear. This something that's not good. For other people, is even deeper. They go through grief one way or another. By the way, we are all grieving. When we look at the news, when we hear the news, when we read the news, and especially video images and footage that it's out there on the internet, on television, one way or another, we are grieving. When we look at those images for, let's just say, 30 seconds, 1 minute, 2 minutes, nobody likes those things. So, there's a grief in there. There's a grief in there. And we are dealing with this almost every day. In a way, we want to know what's going on. So we want to kind of watch the news, but we don't want to spend the whole day doing this because it's not good energy. So how do we, this is personal, everybody does different. How do we, or how should we, better saying, how should we deal with this? If we go back to Allan Kardec and the first book of the codification, the Spirit's book, Allan Kardec has a small set of questions, 4 questions, 5 actually, where he is going to ask the spirits a few things. And the questions are timeless because war happens all the time. In a larger war per se, with more people involved, or a smaller war, but it's been happening all along. So he places the following question to the spirits: what is the cause that leads humankind to war? So he wants to know black and white, just give me the reason, because the more we know, the better chances we have to turn things around. And the spirits go right in. There's a black and white answer, I said. That's the answer here. The predominance of the animal nature over the spiritual nature, and the satisfaction of their passions. Okay, we need to understand what this means. What is the animal nature? Predominance of animal nature. The animal kingdom comes after the plant kingdom, and for each kingdom that comes along, it receives new attributes. So the greatest attribute received by the animals when the animal kingdom started and the plant kingdom didn't have it is instinct. So instinct is what is going to be the big difference between the plant kingdom and the animal kingdom. Then from the animal kingdom, we're going to have the next one up. That's us, the humans. So the humans in our kingdom, there's something, instinct is already there, and it gets passed along to us. Okay. The next kingdom, which are the humans, it's us, we receive a different, more advanced, if you will, attribute, and that is reason and thought. Reason and thought. But the thing is, reason and thought do not replace instinct. Instinct is still there. So we could say, in quotes, there's an animal in all of us. It's there. It's the animal nature. It's that part of us that responds using the instinct. And that demonstrates what the animals are in terms of being territorial. Animals are territorial. They demark their property, what they think their property is. So right there in the field, out in the desert, whatever it is, they will demark their territory, and that's theirs. This is mine or ours for a small group. Nobody gets here. Nobody's allowed in. If they come in, they will suffer the consequences, right? They will be attacked. That's the territorial idea that runs in the animal nature. And it runs in us too. We want to protect things. For example, we want to protect our body from being harmed. We want to protect certain things. But if we do not combine this with reason, then we are just the animal. That's what the predominance of the animal nature means in the answer. Again, the answer is the predominance of animal nature over the spiritual, because the spiritual is going to include other attributes, and those will include reason, virtues, and everything like that all along. With those, we should be able to live a life different than the animal, but sometimes we act just like them. That's what they're saying here. It's a straight answer, black and white. Predominance of the animal nature over the spiritual. So then Allan Kardec goes to the next question, which is, will war someday disappear from the earth? And the answer is also black and white. Yes, it will, but not by divine decree. We're not going to get a letter in the mail, all of us, 8 billion people here on earth, all of us get a letter in the mail saying, as of today, no more wars. Signed, God. There is no such a thing. There's no divine decree that's going to address that. Not at all. So, Allan Kardec then is going to ask the next thing, which is, well, why is war necessary? What has been the goal of providence in making it necessary? And the answer is freedom and progress. And then Allan Kardec goes like, if he scratches his head like this, he goes, let me ask you something else then. If war is meant to bring freedom, why is that? It has usually had subjugation as its objective and result. So usually when people go to war, they want to dominate somebody else. That's the subjugation. They want to dominate somebody else. So he's asking, why is that? How come that gives us freedom? If it seems like it's exactly the other way around, right? If I'm go to war to dominate somebody, how does freedom fit the page here? And the answer is temporary, because it's temporary. We don't go into war and stay until the end of times in war. I mean, forever and ever. No, it comes and goes. So temporary subjugation enables cultures to evolve more quickly. How come? It's one of those things. If we subscribe, okay, if we subscribe for each of us who subscribe to the enough is enough, that's what this answer is for. There's going to be a point where you're going to say, oh, no more subjugation, no more dominance. I need to change my way of doing things. I need to change the core of my cultural roots. I need to do something different. Otherwise, I'm going to be dominated and I'm going to be under somebody else's subjugation all along. So that triggers, right? That triggers the ability that we have using thought and reason to get out of this. So it will bring freedom, not directly. Somebody dominates, there's no freedom, of course, but indirectly, if we use thought and reason correctly. And then Allan Kardec goes to the next question. What is to be thought about those who stir up war for their own profit? So you see now, he's talking about, or he's asking, he's asking about going to war to acquire for personal gain. It's not because I want my people to have this, I want my country to have this, I want my society to have, no. It's all about me. So I'm going to create a war because I'm targeting my own uh, profit. It's a personal thing. The answer is, so what is thought to be about this? That's the question. The answer is, they are truly guilty and will require many lives to expiate all the murders they have caused, for they will have to answer for every individual whose death they caused to satisfy their own ambition. Every individual whose death they caused, they will have to expiate. Where do they expiate? In planets where expiation is something present. Earth is one of them. Trials and expiations, right? Expiations. Yeah, the earth is available for that, for those who need to expiate whatever wrongdoings of the past. And expiating means going through the process, of repairing the errors. But in not necessarily, let's just pick any situation where you made something wrong. It doesn't have to be anything major. You just did something wrong. Could be a minor thing. And then you tried it again, you did it wrong again. Second time, and third time you did it wrong again. On the fourth time you got it right. It doesn't have to be anything meaningful. So the first 3 times you were expiating until you got past that. So for spirits who have to expiate, it's very likely that they will repeat their wrongdoings, at least on the first trials, until they learn their lesson and they will change their ways of doing things. So it's almost like the spirits are telling us it needs to get worse before it gets better. They're almost saying that in the underlines. It needs to get worse before it gets better. And in general, in our societies, in general, in the planet, there's actually a general consensus that things are getting worse. If you take a microphone and ask out there, that's almost like a consensus, but it's not. It shouldn't be. Because this is our best life ever, whoever we are. This is our best incarnation ever. Everything that we did in the past was worse than what we're doing now. So those questions and those answers, they give us a different perspective in terms of, how do we see this thing? So trials and expiations. Territorial, that's another idea. We are still, all of us, we are still very territorial with our things, our physical properties like a house, car, whatever it is. We are still that way. So these animal instincts, this idea of being territorial, they have to be, we have to wear off those things. And it doesn't happen in one lifetime. It's going to take several lifetimes for us to expiate and little by little get rid of all these things. They are going to have to be, we have to wear off these things. So with this in mind, by the way, good evening, Katya. You're following us here, so good evening. Thank you for following us live. So I want to bring something. Again, I'm going to go back to the beginning. Please, no politics, no right or wrong, no taking sides. This week, I saw a video that was on television. It was created by the Ukrainian government amidst all of the situation, they're going through. And the video is 1 minute and 43 seconds. It's really short. At the end of the video, I had the impression that I was watching that thing for 10 minutes because I lost track of time. And why did I lose track of time? Because it's such a beautiful video. Please, no politics. We are spiritists. The video is an outstanding voice for hope, a tremendous, outstanding voice for faith amidst everything that is happening there. Faith and hope include the ability that we have to draw flames from the ashes. When things are like, that's it, I'm going to throw in the towel, there's always hope. There's always hope. And that is what, if we really believe that with hope and faith, we can, because we have that ability, we have to know and learn how to use it. We can draw some flames from the ashes. And when we learn to do this, that's a major outcome. That's what this video is. It's a major outcome for something horrible, something really difficult for all of us to follow and watch the news and so. It shows that we have inner and outer resources, but mostly we have to rely on inner resources to transform the ashes into flames again. Meaning something that we thought it was done and dead, not necessarily. We can revive. We have these inner resources. They are called virtues. Of course, we have outer resources. By the way, technology is one of them. And the same technology that creates beautiful, beautiful medical equipment that saves millions of lives, that same technology, the same chips, the same video screens, the same switches and buttons, they can create war equipment. They can be used for cyber attacks. It's a matter of choice. So this particular video that I'm mentioning here, it is a beautiful video. I invite you to go into Google and search for it. It's an outstanding voice for hope and faith. It's very emotional. The last maybe 10 seconds will be in your mind for quite some time, and for sure they will be in your heart, because it's that creativity that makes us look the other way. Very much like Jesus said when he said, the story about the other cheek. What is that? You bring hate? I'll show you love. That's the other side of the story. That's the other cheek. You bring hate? I'll show you love. You bring something bad? I'll show you something good. That's what this video is. The bad thing we know, it's out there. It's on the television, it's on the internet, it's on the news everywhere. Printed news everywhere. The video shows the other side. It shows us that faith and hope are not only an option, it's a choice. Doubt is never the answer. Doubt is the problem in itself. So I'm sure you're hearing me here, you're following us here. I'm sure, just like me, we want no more of the same. Enough is enough. No more of this heavy energy. So, what is our part in all of this? How do we turn things around? You see, we can't, physically speaking, We cannot go into the middle of the war, show up, take the plane, go there, show up and say, hey, people, stop, I want to talk to you. We can't do that. It's not going to work. So first, I need to change myself, because instead of looking at the heavy energy, I need to look at the hope. What is the good outcome? And that's what I'm going to pursue. What is the good outcome? Peace. No more of this thing. No more bullets. No more missiles. Whatever you want to call. How do I get to this? Myself. By not being aggressive to anyone, because that's what a war is. It's a transgression, right? So how do I do this myself? By abiding to the laws that govern life. Which laws are these? It's written by a man in suit on a big table? No. They are, question 621, they are in our conscience. And we know what they are. But that's free will. You see, this personal decision to turn things around. I'm going to look at this and I'm going to see hope. I'm going to look at this and I'm going to see some sort of joy. I'm going to look at this and I'm going to feel this beautiful emotion, because things are going to get better, because things are going to be different. You see, it's free will, but we can't do this for other people. It's personal and not transferable. It is me and myself, you and yourself, and so on. But you see, we are the ones to start looking at this differently. Otherwise, it's just more of the same. Do we want to spend this whole life doing more of the same that we did last life? Probably not. Probably not. We want to be better. We want to get better. Of course, we can stagnate. I can come into this life and do absolutely nothing to move 1 millimeter, 1 inch ahead. It's my personal choice. Should I be doing this? No. Life is a gift, and I need to be able to make good use of this opportunity and use it in my own favor, because I don't know when I'm going to have another opportunity. It's not up to me exactly. In part, yes, I have participation on it, but depending on how I leave this life and I return to spiritual life, things can be more complicated than we expect. Andre Luiz, he gets to No Solar and he says, why am I here? Because you committed suicide. And are you guys crazy? So he didn't understand. It took him time and suffering to dig into his own soul and find the wrongdoings. Nobody could do this for him. It was a personal and not transferable act that he had to take. So looking at things like this, the war, pandemic, all these things that we went through in the recent times, 2 or 3 years, we can look at this as people, meaning I have a life of, I don't know, 90 years, 100 years maybe. Or I can look at this as immortal spirits. And the outcome is different. If I look at this as a person, that's going to bring me a certain set of, a certain configuration of my energy, if you will. If I look at this as an immortal spirit, it's going to be different. Hope for our immortal spirit, hope and faith, are not really big deal, because we know our destination is perfection. It's already set in stone. It might take 3 lifetimes or 5 million, depends on us. So hope and faith for an immortal spirit is not the same thing that hope and faith if we see things as a person. So if we ever go to look at that video by the Ukrainian government, it's 1 minute and 43 seconds. Look at it as a true spiritist, somebody who's trying to, get the evil tendencies out, and somebody who looks at life and the facts of life as an immortal spirit. Well, guys, thank you so much for being here with us today. If you want to request some sort of topic or subject that you would like us to take a closer look at, usually I have guests with me here. So yeah, please just write to us. Go to kardekradio.com or our Facebook page. You have it on the screen here. Just go and write to us, and we'll be glad to bring the subject and the people who can help us. We are all learning, myself included, right? So we can have people here that will bring information and share their learnings with us. Thank you very much, and we will be here next week, Wednesday at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. I'll see you then. Be well.